Hello Internet, this is a daily driver video. I'll show you how to replace this old alternator with a new one in this 1.8 liter 2010 Toyota Corolla. This procedure will work the same for model years 2008 through 2013. And a bonus, we have solved the squealing problem as you turn on the motor. Keep watching. Okay, here's the presenting problem. You get in the car and you go to start the car. And you get that squeal, and sometimes it lasts for a much longer time, or you come up to a stoplight and start squealing, or the air conditioner kicks in and it starts squealing. Now, Toyota told us that it was the water pump, and so I changed the water pump and that was not it. And I'm pretty convinced it's the alternator. We'll find out in this video. My son came up with a temporary solution, and he found that if you just barely turn the key, it doesn't squeal as much, or it doesn't squeal at all, but still it's not a permanent fix. Let's change the alternator. Okay, first thing we're going to do is disconnect the battery. It's 10 millimeter. Okay, next we need to remove the wiring harness. Couple things here. This is a plastic cover. The main bolt that the main wire hooks in is underneath this. So we just have to pop that off, and I'm pretty sure it's just a matter of getting a straight edge in there and doing that. There we go. So it exposes that. Keep this. And this is a 10 millimeter. This is also a 10 millimeter down here. So the wiring harness is secured to the alternator right here. So the next thing I'm going to do, I'll take those off, but first I'm going to pull this off. And the secret to this plug is horizontally, you just put pressure on each side and pull. It comes right off. Let's take these two nuts off. Again, 10 millimeter. Careful not to lose the nut. Or, yeah, just the nut. Use the open end part of the wrench. Possibly use a socket, but it's pretty tight down there. Put my finger yet. There's a nut here too, a washer. Be careful not to lose that, or the bolt. So I'm just going to carefully take those out. Alright, wiring harness and clips are removed. Now we're going to take this off. And first of all, I think we're going to loosen this so that we get slack on the belt. We can take the belt off, and then we'll start taking bolts off. Okay, so this tensioner it's just a 12. That's not going to be loose enough for the belt. Got to take some bolts off too. Okay, this is the new alternator. Sometimes it helps by looking at the new part before you put it in there. So it looks like there's just one bolt here on top, and there's a longer bolt down here that pivots. So we should only have to remove 2 bolts. Okay, so I'm going to use a socket. It's a longer socket, and this is a 12 millimeter. Okay, I left the top bolt in slightly, and it's just hand tight in that. But I'm going to remove the bottom bolt. It's a longer bolt, and it's a 15 millimeter. And there's lots of bolts down here. Just make sure you have the right one. There it is. Okay, so I switched to a shorter socket here, 15, and the bolt is almost out. Should reach the point here where you just pull it right out. Not quite. All right, the bottom bolt isn't quite out yet, and I'm going to take the top bolt completely out. I think it's just needs to come out now. Again, it's just hand tight at this point. There we go. Again, make sure that you don't lose the bolt. All right, now the belt comes off easily, and I should be able to get that bottom bolt out easier now. Okay, there it is. Okay, so the alternator is loose, but to make it a lot easier, I'm going to take this bracket out. This is the tensioner bracket. And it's just one bolt holding it. It's a number 12. I'm just going to use the wrench. Okay. Now it should come right out. Voila. Here's the old alternator. And what I'm doing there is just turning it back and forth, and I can feel slop in this, and I am pretty confident this is the problem with the squeal. You can kind of even hear the squeal. There's just too much slop in this. Here's the new alternator, and it's just nice and firm. And let's now install it. Put it in the same way we took the other one out. I'm going to put this big bolt in first. All right, so I got the new one in place. Just have to rock it back and forth and get this bolt started. The bolt is tapered. Okay, just hand tight at this point. That's all you need. Okay, putting the bracket back on. So it just goes back like that. Likewise, it's a tapered bolt, which is really nice. Toyota does some smart things. Okay, just hand tight at this point. Okay, this one, tighten this one as well. And this is all loose here, so actually, before we do this, we want to put the belt back on. Okay, I carefully slipped the belt on. Again, it's loose because nothing's tight up here, but just so it's somewhat in place. And I think next we're going to probably loosen this a little bit more, this adjuster. No, we don't have to. We're going to get this bolt in place now. Okay, everything is just hand tight at this point. Okay, so I'm going to tighten this just a little bit more than hand tight. Again, this is 12 millimeter. Don't want to tighten it too much long because we still have to officially tighten the belt. That's good enough. This will still move when it's tightened. And I'm going to cinch up the bottom bolt a little bit more too. Again, not all the way tight. And then we'll adjust this to make it nice and taut. And then we'll really tighten the two bolts. Okay, so 15 millimeter, the bottom bolt. Again, I'm not going to tighten it all the way, but it needs to be a little bit tighter than it is right now. Okay, that should work. We'll stop it. Okay, we're going to tighten the tensioner. It'll put tension on the belt here. Get a little bit closer. It's really a clever design. And I'm just kind of getting a feel of the belt at this point. Once we get it close, we'll have to readjust it once the car starts, but that's pretty good, I think, for initial belt tightening. To tighten the bolts, the two bolts. So top one again is also a 12, nice and tight, and then a 15 below. Okay, that's tight. Okay, now we're going to hook up the wiring harness. So this is number 10, and I'll get what holds the harness to the alternator right here first. Wow, Toyota again, another tapered bolt. Love those. Okay, going to use the socket. Don't over tighten, but that's snug enough. Okay, so we're going to use the nut that came with the new one. It has to click in all the way like that. You don't want to over tighten it. It has to be tight enough. That's good. Okay, we're going to put this in place, and I'll put that cover on. Okay, that's in. Cover that. Good. Okay, so this you just get in place and click it. And I think we're good. Hook up the battery, we'll give the initial start, and hopefully we got the belt in correctly. I just want to double check that. I think we're good to go. Let's get the battery. Okay, time to hook up the battery. Don't want to over tighten it, but you want it tight enough, and that's good. Just boot over it. Okay, so this definitely solved our problem. The high squeal has been the alternator. Sorry, Toyota, it was not the water pump, but the alternator. This is a relatively easy fix. It's easy for me, but not that hard to get to, and a do-it-yourselfer can do this. Now what we're going to do is we're going to run the vehicle take it on a few trips here, and we'll come back and we'll check the tension of the belt, make sure. Sometimes they loosen up a little bit, but we'll simply back these two bolts off a little bit, tighten it a little bit more, and then tighten the other two. But that's something you can do. No, I'm not a professional. I'm simply a backyard mechanic. But if you got any value at all from this video, please give me a like. It costs you nothing, but it's a great value to me. And as usual, have a great day.